It's not like you're trying to dig into yourself and you find this magic card and this is who you were the whole time. Because there's always two paths. You can become one. Do you ever see that in somebody's life? Is they were one person one time, they had good integrity, good character, and they just shifted and they changed. Well, they chose who they were. They changed who they were. So there goes the theory that you are who you are no matter what. That's not true. You create who you are. You determine who you're going to be. And that's a daily challenge. What I want to talk tonight is something that we all have a limited amount of, but take advantage of every single day. And it's more valuable than anything else we have, and that is time. When we think about business and entrepreneurship, a thing that's often overlooked is time management. If you don't manage your personal life well, you will never manage your professional life well. And I always say it, I'm a broken record, but we're professionals at home first before we're ever professionals in the workforce. And we have to be that way. So it starts like this. Me and Martha, my wife, we will actually plan out the entire year of all the important things that we're going to do. I have a monthly date with each one of my kids. That's on the calendar. We have weekly dates, me and my wife, on the calendar. Other events we have and we put on the calendar a year in advance. So planning out that year over New Year's, then everything else gets scheduled around that, meaning the important things are scheduled first. So we don't have to make time for the important things. It's already there. We make time for other things we want to do outside of the important circle. So those things, just personal, will really help your professional life. So just little tips there of how that goes. But it's interesting that life is lived forward, but only makes sense in reverse. And the thing is, we will see life after it's lived, after we experienced it. We went through something. Why am I going through this? Why is this so hard? But on the other end of it is we can see what God did in our lives or how the process worked. So a lot of times it doesn't mean just because it's hard or you feel like you're running out of time that you're on the wrong path. It just means that life is lived forward and we're moving through it. And again, life only makes sense in reverse.
Thank you for watching the video. My name is Josh Yoder, founder and CEO of Future Contributions Business Development. If you like this content and you need individual help, I'll be more than happy to help you with whatever you need. And you can reach me at any time with the information and link below, and I'll personally reach back to you within 24 hours.
But the great thing is, when we get to a point in our lives, it's important that we stop and reflect. Where are we at? Where are we at with our goals? Where are we at with our timelines? Where's our projections at? And that's why it's important. I have on my calendar, and I'm not very good at doing it, but it's on my calendar, of having quarterly reflection time. Taking an afternoon, 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours, and reflecting every quarter on my goals and tracking myself to see this is what I set out to do. This goal no longer makes sense. It's not in my agenda for this year, but I put it down, so I take it out or put things in or mark out how close I'm getting to the goals I have set. So sometimes it's more important than pushing forward. It's just as important to stop sometimes. Now, I don't know how to stop. I always say I'm the gas pedal and my wife Martha's the brakes. And so we kind of balance each other out. Sometimes she's on the brakes, sometimes on the gas pedal, and we're just peeling out going nowhere, just making a bunch of noise. But you know, it happens to all of us. But if you guys are in business and have business partners, it's really good to be partnered with somebody that does have those brakes and somebody has the gas pedal, because you can be too reserved and you're running out of time, you need to jump on something, or you can go do stuff too quickly. I'm the guy who says, look, there's a black hole, there's opportunity, I'm going to jump into it. Somebody hold the rope, and if I die, just pull me back out. That's just my personality, right? So I want to get started here and really describe it like this. When you're thinking about time and creating time in your life, the inner world shapes the outer one. Okay, the inner world within inside you shapes the outer one. We can never change the reality of the world around us until we change its reality within us. So many of us in business and in sales and in life are trying to change our reality. We're trying to change the world, but we're not looking inwardly. Before you look outwardly, you have to look inwardly and be the change that you want to see. So what we believe, think, and feel becomes the filter through which we live our lives. And last week we talked about truth in its sense of it could be your truth, but it's not the truth. And a lot of us are under false pretenses of actually what's going on. Now, this thing might be happening to you, but because of your view of this certain thing in your life and in business, it's frustrating. But many times when you feel like you're failing, you're actually succeeding. Because those who have failed the most are the most successful, because success comes through failure. That being said, we will always recreate the reality of the world within us into the world around us. So it starts with us. Your business will only grow to the extent that you do. Your personal life, your leadership will only grow to the extent that you do. And we talked about last week as well, is take account. Did you guys do that? Did you look at your bank account, look how much you spend on entertainment versus self-improvement? It's very humbling. Take a look, write down how much you spend on self-improvement versus entertainment. And if your entertainment budget is bigger than your self-improvement budget, I can predict your next 5 years. It's going to be stagnant. It's going to be frustrating. You can have all the goals and visions and passions that you want to have, but if you don't reinvest back into you and continually change your circle to higher level thinking, to people who are moving in directions that you want to move and that challenge you, you will never rise to that challenge, because we all have limiting belief caps on us. It was amazing to me. I was probably right around 17 years old till I actually got around some men who were making $100,000 a year. You know, it sounds silly now looking back, but it was amazing to me that somebody could actually make that kind of money per year, and it never even entered my mind. Well, moving forward, I ran into a man just about 4 months ago, making $42 billion a year. So you never think what's possible unless you get yourself around people who think the impossible is possible. And the cool thing is that if you ever looked at impossible, and I should probably bring it up on the screen, but if you look at the word impossible, it says, I am possible. So impossibility starts with I'm possible. So impossible is just a limiting belief. So we need to rise with the rising tide. But if we have anchor stuck within us of limiting beliefs, and we're trying to surround ourselves with success, but we're not willing to let go of this certain thing, because you cannot hold on to two things at one time expecting to go one direction. You'll stay where you're at. To illustrate this point, it goes like this. And if you guys read my book, there's a story in there, and it's a story of the two kings. And the illustration is this, that the countryman didn't want to let go of his two worlds. He started down a dusty path, exhausted, clothes were torn, and just parched, thirsty, hungry. And he was at the end of his ropes. And he seen this fence ahead, and he made his way over to it and sat down. With his hands in his face, he heard a horse coming. And as he looked up with a tear in his eye, he seen the king of success in front of him on a white horse. And the king comes close to him. He dismounts, swings his leg over the horse, walks slowly up to the countryman, comes over and doesn't say a thing, but just sits on the fence beside him. Eventually puts his hand on his shoulders, and he asks, "What's wrong?" And he said, "I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated. I've been in the land of success, and I'm now in the land of failure, but I don't know which land to choose. I'm so confused." As he was speaking, he was interrupted by another stampede of a horse coming. This time it was a lot of horses. And behind him, he's seen in a distance on the black horse, it was a king of failure. Before he could even think the king of failure was in front of him, shouting at him and saying, "Get off my side." And as he looked over to the king of success, expecting the king of success to say something for him, to speak on his behalf, the king shouted again, closer, louder this time, saying, "Get off my side." And frustrated, the countryman jumped off the fence and threw up his hands and he said, "I'm not on your side. I didn't choose him, and I definitely didn't choose you. I chose the fence." And with the evil grin, the king of failure said, "I own the fence." So a lot of times in lives, we stay stuck in limbo, trying to hold on to this side and this side, and thinking that I have time to make a choice. I have time, I have time, I have time. Well, guess what? You don't have time. We're all running out of time. So we must make a choice. Not making a choice is making a choice. And that's the illustration of the story. We also see in the story that he was in both lands and had the same result. Just because you're around success does not mean you're going to become successful. You must apply and you must discipline your disappointments. We must discipline our disappointments because a lot of us have a view, again, that's not a true reality, and we overthought something, we over-leveraged something that was never even meant to happen in the first place, but we're just trying to push it forward, and then it doesn't happen, so now we're disappointed. Well, we need to discipline that and get through it quickly. Because every time we waste on playing the victim card and look at, oh, me, is wasted time. Every single second. Talking about seconds, this is crazy. I'm a math guy. I love numbers. Time is finite. So make it count. If you live to 80, you will have, are you ready for this? 42,048,000 seconds to live. Minutes, sorry. 42,048,000 seconds to 80. So if you live to 80 years old, you will have lived 42,048,000 seconds. Now, if you're in your 30s, you've got about 26 million seconds left. If you're in your 50s, you get around 21 million seconds left. In your 60s, you have about 15 million seconds left. So time doesn't care how you feel. It's always ticking. So we're either growing into our future or we're growing into our past. And if you want to get over the past, be present in the moment. So many people are so focused on trying to fix what happened yesterday, and so many people are trying to look into tomorrow to fix tomorrow's problems. Well, today has enough trouble of its own. We have enough grace, we have enough fortitude, we have what it takes to get through today. We do not have what it takes to get through yesterday, present, and tomorrow all at the same time. So in time, it's very important with time management. We're talking about time management in business. I know we got off track a little bit. I always say that we can go on bunny trails, so just don't get stuck in the brush, okay? So let's break the briars off and get back on track here. But as we look at this, as we have time, and as time clicks by, we need to look at it in a way that we are investors. We need to invest it. So what we put in, what is the return? How many here, how many hours a day do we have? 24. 16. Okay.
16 living, conscious.
Conscious? Let's work on the clock. Yeah, okay. What do you guys think? How many hours a day do we have? 24. Okay.
That's what
Okay, that's great. Yeah, that's a common response. I was challenged, though, by a man who was worth $7 billion. And he said, you don't have to do math the way it calculates if you can leverage time. Donald Trump has 24 hours in a day. However, he gets 300 hours of things done in a day. How? Because he duplicates himself into other people to leverage time. We've all been taught about investing money, compound interest, and how that works long term. We've never really thought about what if we compound time in our favor. And you can only do that with a team. If you want to be successful, you can be successful alone. That's fine and take care of you. But we need to consistently be not just full, but be overflowing. In order to do that, we need a team. The bigger the target, the bigger the team. The bigger the team, the bigger the leader you're going to have to be. Leadership always starts and ends with us. What comes out of leading yourself is going to determine your success and how far you can go. So that being said, if you do the math again with some numbers here, if you duplicate two people 24 times, 2 is 48. Okay? So you now don't have 48 hours in a day if you duplicate yourself. Now, if you have 10 people, you have 240 hours in a day. If you have 15 people, you have 360 hours a day of results. However, we must first focus on us and be as efficient as we can be as an individual before we can duplicate that. Now, another side of it is too many people are wasting time trying to work on their weaknesses when they should be outsourcing their weaknesses and bringing somebody else in to fill that. Now, there's contents to this. There's personal weaknesses that we need to become a well-rounded individual and a leader. But in the business world, you do not want me as an accountant. I could train to be an accountant. I can go to school to be an accountant. But you know why I'll never be a good accountant? Because I'm not passionate about it. I don't want to do it. And I suck at it really bad. So that being said, you hire somebody to fill that weakness. A lot of business owners and entrepreneurs are wasting so much time, and they no longer even have 24 hours in a day. They just actually have 3 hours a day. It is a proven fact that 80% of entrepreneurs fail because they spend 3 hours a day actually operating in their flow state. Their flow state is what they're passionate about and what they're good at. And even in their flow state, they never even get into it because they're dealing with all the weaknesses and they're beating themselves up and saying, I'm failing at business, I suck at this, I suck at that. Well, the problem is that you do, and that's okay. So you need to know what you want to do, first of all, become really good at your strengths, and delegate your weaknesses. And when you get really good at your strengths, you can duplicate yourself and somebody else in that position. So that being said, that we don't just have 24 hours in a day. That's up to you how many hours in a day that you have. How quickly, how fast, how big you want to go is completely contingent on how you focus on building your strengths in business. So everybody write down one strength that you have personally. Just one strength that you have personally, that you know that you just excel in. All right, so that's personal. Now in business, what strength do you have in business? Now you could use the same phrase of writing down your weaknesses, but for time's sake, you can do that as we go on here, and you can write down your weaknesses. But you can see really quick why most businesses fail in the first year. And why 80% of the rest of businesses that survived fail in 5 is because they're focusing on the wrong things. They're wearing too many hats. They only have 3 hours a day, not 24, because they're spending the rest not even sleeping. They're spending the rest trying to fix things they shouldn't be fixing. They're creating problems they shouldn't even have. Because I don't know about you guys, but in business, I create enough of my own problems. Much more just having the problems of business. So business is going to have challenges, but a lot of times as entrepreneurs and salespeople and operating in business, we create our own problems. And now we got to get out of our own selves and out of our own way. So let's take that to heart and understand that we have as many hours as we want to duplicate ourselves in. And it all starts with self-awareness. What exists but also scares you a little? So what's something that exists in your reality right now, inwardly within you, that you know this is the next step that you want to take? This is something you know that you want to do, but it scares you a little bit. What's the thing right now? I don't care if it's personal, if it's business, that one thing that just scares you a little bit. But you know it's something that you want to do. And it should be something small, not something big. So I would write that thing down, and over this next week, I would pursue that as hard as you can. Something that you're passionate about, something that you want to do, and something that you're scared of. To discover that is going to be important to know who you are. But the thing is, guess what? Who you are at 5 years old is different who you were at 10 years old. Who you were at 10 years old is very different than who you are at 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old. The term find out who you are is used very loosely. And it cannot be contributed to a time constraint. You cannot find out who you are and just be that person the rest of your life, and this is who I am. Now, some of us have callings. That's true. Some of us have passions that will never change, and we find that at a young age, and that's true. But we're ever changing. We're ever changing. Even our cellular structure changes every 7 years. It reproduces itself. So the body is ever changing, ever growing. We're not in the same place we were 5 years ago. And that kind of slows down as we get a little bit older, but especially, through your 20s and 40s, time is changing so quick and things are changing. You get married, you have children, the kids grow up, they're out of the house. Things happen very quickly. So who are you now might be a little bit different than who you will be later. A lot of people are trying to find out who they are by trying to find out what they want to do and what their purpose is. But they're asking the wrong questions. The more important thing is ask who you are not. Finding out who you are not at the end of that list will tell you who you are. Write down everything that is around you, your influences, things that you're unsure about, things that you don't really know, but that there might be a direction you want to go, or you're not sure if you belong or fit here. And if you have a question, just write them all down. And once you eliminate that core thing is who you are. That is who you are in that present time and in your surroundings. So our strengths are always evolving. And I wrote this down. Who you are is up to you. It's almost like a lot of people view finding out who you are, and this is related to time. I'll tie it back in. Don't worry, we're not going to get stuck in the brush too long. But finding out who you are is up to you. It's not like you're trying to dig into yourself and you find this magic card and this is who you were the whole time. Because there's always two paths. You can become one. Do you ever see that in somebody's life? Is they were one person one time, they had good integrity, good character, and they just shifted and they changed. Well, they chose who they were. They changed who they were. So there goes the theory that you are who you are no matter what. That's not true. You create who you are. You determine who you're going to be. And that's a daily challenge. That's something that we daily have to strive and we work for. So in time, you will save a whole lot of time of knowing why you're here and what your purpose is and who you are. Those three things right there will eliminate a whole lot of wasted time. A whole lot of wasted time. So the process of elimination, you'll find a core strength and build from there. But you know what? Stop waiting to be perfect. Move now. Stop waiting to be perfect, because perfection is the enemy of excellence. Strive to be excellent first. Excellent looks like this. I messed up. It's okay. It's not the end. I'm going to pick myself back up again. It's okay to fail, because all the successful people have done it. A lot of times we're afraid to step into something because we're afraid that if we fail, we wasted time. But life is a school. You can either have it be your taskmaster and keep you down, and you're scared to waste time so you never do anything. You're like that man sitting on the fence, like the countryman, never doing anything. And all the time you chose by not choosing and just sitting there all your life. Or you can go out and do something and figure out it didn't work. It's quicker to get where you're going by trying things than staying where you're at. And you're going to fail along the way. But you know what? Let's fail quickly, fail often, and fail forward. That's what we have to do. So, discover what you truly are great at, then bring it to others. If you want to excel in your strength, don't keep it to yourself. If you want to maximize your time, if you want to maximize the moment and the experience in the time, because it's not just about having time, it's about having quality of time. Having time alone is empty. You know, I've seen those old people that are 95, that are 100 years old, and I shook their hands and I sold them deals and home services and everything. I have met equally people at the same age, and some of them are completely miserable. And some of them are the happiest people ever, and they challenge me to be thankful for every moment I have. The difference is their quality of the time that they lived the same period of time, but the quality of that time were completely different. So let's don't just pursue saving time and multiplying our time. Let's have it be quality time, because that's what really matters. I'd much rather live 75 years, 80 years than to be 115 years old and be miserable. I want that quality of time. So let's focus on that as well. And then lastly, it's never too late. It's never too late. Remember, it talks about multiplying your time. If you're 20 years old and you've only ever did something by yourself, you only have 24 hours a day. But let me tell you a couple people that were 40, 50, 60, some 70 years old who had more success in 10 years, in 5 years, or in 2 years than some that were trying their entire life because they did something in their 20s and they failed. They did something in their 30s and they had a little bit of success and they failed. They did something in their 40s and had a little bit more success and they failed. And then 50 and 60, they hit the home run. And they were most successful people we know today, but we don't realize they didn't really get their start till their 50s and 60s. So it's never too late. It doesn't matter where you're at. Example of this is, you'll know this one. Ray Kroc, we all know this guy, 52 years old. He was a failed salesperson selling milkshakes, walked into a store with these two brothers, and we know it now as McDonald's in the way that we know it. Sam Walton, he opened his first Walmart at 44 years old. A lot of people would say by the time you're 30, if you don't find out what you're doing, if you don't have some sort of success by then, you'll never make it. It's not true. You can multiply your time. If you at 44 years old, at Sam Walton, let's go 15 years, let's say at 60 years old, you know how much time a day Sam Walton had? He probably had 1,000 hours a day with the multiplied time that he had. It's crazy. Julia Child, I don't know if you guys know this, but didn't publish her first cookbook until 50 years old. One of the most famous cookbook writers of all times. And then we have, we talked about Colonial Sanders, right, with KFC at 62. Did we not?
You didn't say it.
I did not say, well, you're Colonel Sanders. You look exactly like him, Greg. But 62 years old, the most famous chicken franchise that ever existed and has not lost any steam whatsoever at 62 years old. You know what he did before that? I have no idea. I don't know. But I'm sure it was something not as great. But it's never too late. So let's stop wasting time. Let's find out who we are by finding out who we are not, and keeping tabs within ourselves and having quality of time and setting at a time and reflecting on the time that we did have, making sure that we're managing it well. Because just as it's important to manage our finances and to budget it, it's important to manage and budget our time. If we can do that correctly, I'm telling you, you will be successful in business. That's where it starts, time management. Because it doesn't matter, we talked about last week the 5 pillars of business. If you have leadership, legal, systems and processes, sales and marketing, if you have all of that down, and you have all those processes and systems going for you, but you can't time manage that, those pillars are going to crush. They're going to crack over time. Even the Roman Colosseums in all its magnificence, and as strong as it was built, time took it down. Time's going to take every one of us down. It's just how much are we going to build within that time? How much are we going to be able to build to be overflowing that we have changed lives? Because we can't take it with us. And the only time, and you know what, you actually can take time with you, by the way. The time that you invest into others would never be wasted. Time spent in spirituality, in giving back, in success, in improving other people's lives will forever exist, forever, for eternity. That's the only thing we can ever bring with us. Ourselves, other people, and the time we invested. So let's do it well. Let's stay strong. Here are Future Contributions. Thank you for joining us again. We'll see you guys next week for the following. I almost ended perfect.